Good morning. Namaste to each of you. Thank you for joining me this morning to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. Let's take a few moments just to become present. Find a nice, comfortable seated position where you can sit and have your spine and back of your neck be nice and long and tall. Opening up your chest and opening up your diaphragm and opening up your heart. Gently close your eyes and soften your thoughts. Soften your eyes. Soften your shoulders and soften your heart. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. You may open your eyes. For this morning's intention, you may think of a positive word or phrase to have with you on your mat and perhaps carry with you throughout the day. This morning's intention I'd like to talk about is the second Niyama, and the Niyamas being the guidelines on how to interact with yourself. The second Niyama is Santosha, Sanskrit for contentment. I read an article this week by a woman by the name of Connie Habash, and she's from the Awakening Self Center. And she wrote, and I quote, "Feeling Santosha feeds our confidence by cultivating a sense of inner well-being. From that confident and calm state, we're more likely to step into new challenges and we're apt to be successful at them. When we're in a state of balance and generally satisfied with ourselves and our lives, we enjoy more of whatever life offers." So with yoga, many of us do yoga poses, the asana, so our bodies can be healthy and happy. Santosha, contentment, is what we can do to have our mind and our spirit be healthy and happy. And there's even an exercise or a pose, if you will, that you can do, and it's called gratitude. So for this morning's meditation, I'd like to do a guided meditation called gratitude meditation. And if you like to have a mudra with that, there's one by the name of Tse. It's pronounced Tse. It's spelled T-S-E. And what you would do is have your palm open, bring your thumb in and follow the ridge line of your fingers, and then close your fingers over your thumb. Again, you put your hand up, bring your thumb in, and close your fingers over your thumb. And this mudra, Tse, is for seeking happiness and improving your mood. And it also decreases depression and anxiety. So you're welcome to have this mudra while we go through our guided meditation. So again, keep yourself in that nice, comfortable seated position with your spine nice and long. And take a few deep breaths. Let your chest rise and fall with each inhalation and exhalation. When you are ready, let your eyes drift closed. As you continue to breathe slowly and deeply, let your attention rest gently on your breath, feeling the movement as it enters and exits your body. Each time you exhale, Let go of any tension. On your next exhale, settle your attention to the area around your heart. Focus on the feelings of love, compassion, empathy, and forgiveness. With your attention on your heart center, bring to mind something or someone you are grateful for. As you continue with your easy, relaxed breathing, perhaps you feel gratitude for being alive and healthy. Perhaps you are grateful for the abundance of nature that produces food to nourish your body and beautiful scenery to nourish your soul. Bring your attention to people who truly nourish you in your life and how they bless you with their presence. Feel gratitude for your own life and the many gifts you have been blessed with. Now bring your attention to how this gratitude feels in the area around your heart. With each inhale, let this feeling grow outwards, expanding to fill your chest, your arms, your hands, your legs, and your feet. With each inhale, this feeling grows, filling you up. And now, even as you return your attention to your breath, let your body remember the sensations of your gratitude. And we'll start our asanas. I'm going to meet you on the mat. We'll start this morning with our right leg in front of our left leg, and you can have them gently crossed or maybe side by side. We're going to start with some seated cat-cows, and they're also going to incorporate our head nods. So when we look down, we're going to actually round our back and curl our eyes to focus on our navel. So you're going to feel your back round, just like you were doing cat. And then inhaling, we're going to lift our eyes up above the tree line. But as we do, we're going to extend our chest outward. Just kind of bring your chest outward so that your back arches a tad, just like we do in cow. So exhale, round our back, send our eyes down, rounding our back. We're going to send our eyes to our navel. And inhale, lifting our eyes up. And then expanding our chest, reaching it forward. And then exhale back to cat, where we're rounding our back and looking down toward our navel. Then inhale, lifting our chest up and out as we send our eyes up above the tree line. We'll do that a few more times. Just kind of focus on your breath as you're doing it. It's a little different movement than when we're in tabletop. And then we'll come back to a basic seated pose. We're going to do a few sun breaths with twists, so sending your fingers alongside of you. We're going to inhale, lifting our hands up and turning our torso to the left and bringing them down. We're going to do a nice flow this morning, so lifting our hands right back up, bringing ourselves to the front and then twisting over to the right, bringing our hands down on the exhale. Inhale, back up. Twisting to the front and then over to the left, bring our hands back down, nice one flowing movement, lifting our hands up, coming to the front, then twisting to the right, and then back down again with the exhale. Inhale, up, twist to the front, then over to the left, and then down on the exhale. And one last time over to the right, twisting to the front, exhaling, bringing your hands down to the right. And we'll come back to center. And we're going to do a few side stretches from the seated position. So we're going to, again, bring our right fingertips out to the side of the mat. And then we're going to lift our left arm up along our left ear. And then bring your right elbow down toward the mat. And take a nice gentle curve over to the right. Then inhale, bringing our arm back up. We're going to bring our right hand back up to our left hand so that they touch the palms. And then bring that back down to the right. Bend our elbow. Side stretch to the right. Inhale, come back up. Lift our right arm up, bringing it to our left palm, and then bringing it right back down again, nice and slow and controlled. Fingertips land on the mat, elbow reaches down toward the mat, side stretch to the right, and then we'll come back up, bring our right hand up, and then this time we're going to do it on the left side. So bring your left fingertips down, left elbow reaches down toward the mat, and you stretch over to the left. And then bring your left hand back up, tapping your right palm, and then bringing it back down again to the left side. Left elbow reaches toward the mat. Nice. Stretch over to the left, and one last time, bring your left hand up. Touch your right hand and then bringing it back down. Sending your left elbow down toward the mat, stretching over to the left side. And then bringing your left hand back up and bring both hands back down. So now we're going to roll down on our backs. You can roll down one vertebrae at a time, either with bent knees or straight knees, or you can do the express method. Just tuck your hands under your knees and roll down. And once you roll down, bring your knees to your chest and give them a nice hug and rock your back on your mat. Just give your lower back a nice massage. And then bring both feet down to the mat, having your feet about hip width apart and as close to your hips as is comfortable. your hands are going to be alongside your hips with the palms facing down into the mat so that it kind of supports you. And then we're going to lift our right leg up to the sky, pointing our toes. And then we're going to flex our feet. So we're going to do kind of what we do with bird dog, but the point flex. So point your toe and then flex your foot. Inhale, point. Exhale, flex. 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 Inhale, point. And last exhale, flex. And then with our foot flexed and up in the air, we're going to just slowly lower that right foot down to the mat with control. Our lower back should be nice and snug against the mat as we reach the bottom of the mat. And then you can, once you reach the bottom, you can slide your right foot up so it's equal with the left leg. And I'm going to do that same thing on the left side. So send your left leg up to the sky, pointing your toe. And then we're going to exhale, flex. Inhale, point. 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 And exhale, flex, keeping your foot flexed. You can just send that foot down to the mat. It's nice and straight leg, sending it down slowly to the mat. And then bring your left foot up beside your right foot. And we're going to come back to where our heels are close to our hips. Knees are about hip width apart. We're going to keep them parallel. We're going to do a few cat-cows and then bring them up into a bridge pose. So we'll do 3 cat-cows. So with the cat, we're going to round our lower back, bringing it down toward the mat and making kind of a bowl shape with our tummy. And then with a cow, we're going to bring our tailbone down, kind of arching our lower back. So that's 1. And then back to cat, rounding our back, bringing it down to the mat. To cow, arching our back. And then back to cat, rounding our back. And when we're here, with our belly in that kind of bowl shape, we're going to push down into our feet and lift our hips up to the sky, coming into bridge pose. You can bring your hips up as comfortable. You don't have to bring your shoulders underneath or round your shoulders underneath your body at this point. We're going to do a few of these so you can evolve to that. So at this point, just come up, lifting your hips to a comfortable spot. And then very, very slowly, we're going to lower down, feeling every vertebrae as we come. Just really focus on having each vertebrae touch down on the mat very slowly in control. And then we'll do that again. So we'll round our back for cat, arch our back for cow, round our back for cat, arch our back for cow, round our back for cat, and then we're going to push down into our feet and lift our hips up. Again, maybe coming up a tad higher. Maybe this one you can interlace your hands underneath your hips. Just get a bind on. And then release your hands with your knees still parallel from one another. Don't have them splayed out. You can lower your torso down one vertebrae at a time again. Just really try to feel that connection of the vertebrae against the mat as you lower. And then one last time, we're going to round our back for cat, arch our back for cow, round our back for cat, arch our back for cow, and then round our back for cat and push down into our feet, lifting our hips up for one last bridge pose. Knees are parallel, eyes are up to the sky. You can bring your hands underneath, interlace the fingers, and this time maybe round your shoulders underneath and try to extend your torso up a little higher. And then release your bind of your hands and then lower your torso one vertebrae at a time, right back down to the mat. Great. And once you've landed, we're going to come back up to tabletop. So you can either tip your legs over to the side and come up to tabletop, or if you'd like a little additional massage on your spine, you can do a rock and roll by tucking your hands under your knees and just do a few rolls on the mat. Wake up your spine, then come up to a seated position. And then if you like, cross your legs, come over your legs and into tabletop. So with tabletop, as we know, our wrists are right below our shoulders, our fingers are splayed out, index finger pointing up to the top of the mat. We're gently pushing down into our hands to create space between our shoulders and our ears. And we're trying to distribute our weight evenly in each hand. Knees are right below our hips. We'll check on that. And navel's tucked to the spine to create a nice flat back. And we're going to come into extended puppy. So where your hands are now, you're going to bring your elbows to that spot where your hands were. And then your fingers are reaching toward the front of the mat. And your hips and your knees are staying exactly where they were for tabletop. And then we're going to inch forward our elbows. So we're going to maybe go up 3 to 4 inches. And then we're going to send our chest and our forehead down to the mat for extended puppy. You just feel the nice stretch in our upper back here. And then lift our head up. We're going to inch our elbows back to where they were, and then bring our hands back down to where the elbows were, coming back up to tabletop. And then we're going to send our hips down to our ankles, coming into child's pose. And we'll send our hands out to the top of the mat and stretch out again our spine. Take some nice deep breaths here. And then come back up to tabletop. And we'll bring our hips back down to our ankles, but we're going to bring our torso straight up, and we're coming into a kneeling position or a modified hero's pose. And you can either rest your sit bones on the tops of your heels and have your feet flat on the mat, like I do. I think that's most comfortable for me. Or if you like to curl your toes under and rest that way on your heels, either way. I'm going to do a few chest openers. So relax your shoulders and bring your hands around your back hip area and interlace your fingers. And then when inhale, we're going to extend our hands out, and then exhale, bring our fingers over to our right waist. Inhale, send them back and out again. And then inhale over to or exhale rather, over to our left waist. And then inhale, send them back and out. And then bring them over to our right waist. And inhale, back and out. And then over to our left waist. Inhale, back and out. And one last time over to the right waist. And then inhale, back and out. And last, over to the left waist. We'll release our hands. Bring them back down to the mat and curl our toes under. And we're going to walk our hands back, coming into a squat on the balls of our feet and then pushing down into the balls of our feet, coming up to mountain pose. And then we'll come into, go through our mountain essentials, which is also the essentials of good posture. So our big toes pointing toward the straight edge of the mat. We lift our toes up off the mat and then send them back down to the mat, really feeling snug into the mat, and lift our heels up off the mat and bring them back down into the mat. Really feel grounded for today's session. Our legs are nice and straight and strong. Knees have a nice gentle bend in them. Navel's tucked to the spine, creating a nice long straight spine. Our shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Chin is tucked slightly back and down into your chest. Really lengthen the back of your neck there, and the crown of your head's reaching up to the sky. We're going to sweep our hands up with a big, big inhale. And then exhale, bring our hands down to the mat as we bend our knees generously. And just check in here for a moment. Just see how you're feeling today. Physically, mentally, and maybe even spiritually. And then bring your hands to your shins, flattening out your back for half forward fold, sending the gaze down. Then bringing the crown of your head down toward the mat. We'll just let gravity stretch our spine out here. And then we're going to inhale, sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. And then rise up onto our toes. And then bring our hands down and our heels down for some sun breaths. So as we sweep our hands up, we're going to come up onto our toes with a big inhale. And then exhale, coming back down, bringing our heels back down to the mat. We'll do this nice and slow with control. Inhale, lifting up onto our toes, bringing our hands up overhead. And then exhale, bringing your hands down, heels come down. And we'll do that one last time. Inhale, sweeping up, big, big inhale. And then exhale, bringing our feet and our hands back down. We're going to bring our hands all the way down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Inhale, bringing them to our shins, straightening out our lower back, the whole spine, in the back of our neck for half forward fold. And then bringing the crown of our head down toward the mat. And again, sweep our hands all the way up with a big inhale, bringing them up overhead. Palms come together. Then we'll do a few side stretches. So bringing your right palm down to your right thigh, we'll slide that down toward your knee. And then inhale, come back up. Bringing the left hand down, we'll slide that down toward the knee. Inhale, come back up. Right hand again, right to right thigh, slide it down to the right knee. Bringing it back up overhead, dropping the left hand down to the left thigh, sliding that left hand to the left thigh, back up. And one last time on the right. And then inhale, come back up. And one last time on the left. Inhale and come back up. Then we'll send both hands back down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Inhale, half forward fold, flattening out our back, sending our gaze down. Exhale, sending the crown of our head down to the mat. And sweeping our hands all the way up. Big inhale, bringing our hands up overhead. And then we'll bring our hands, drop our hands out in front of us at shoulder height. And we'll do a few 180s. So we're going to follow our right hand with our eyes. We're going to send our right hand out in a half circle and send it all the way in back of us as our left hand comes to our right shoulder. And then sweeping the right hand back and keeping your eyes on your hand. Bringing both hands together out front. We're going to do that with the left hand, following it with our eyes as it goes all the way around in back of us. Right hand to left shoulder. And then sweeping our left hand all the way back to the front again. Hands come together. We'll do that again on the right side. And then semicircle back to the front. Eyes are always on our hand. Do that with the left hand, bringing our right hand to the left shoulder. And then bringing our left hand back to front. Bringing both hands together, lifting them up overhead, and then bringing them back down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Inhale, half forward fold, flat back. And then dropping the crown of our head down toward the mat. And sweep our hands all the way up overhead again. Palms come together. Palms come to heart center. Then palms come to the back of your hips for supported back bend. Feet are hip width apart. Shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Chin is tucked toward your chest. And then just let your shoulders drop back to the point where your breath can stay nice and even. And just take a few deep breaths here. Inhale and exhale. And then we'll come back up to mountain pose. How's everyone doing? All right. So for mountain pose, we're going to sweep our hands up overhead. Big inhale, exhale, bringing them down to the mat for forward fold. Bring your hands up to your shins for half forward fold, really flattening out your back. And then sending your hands back down to the mat. This time you're planting them on the mat and sending both feet back to the end of the mat and coming into plank pose. Plank pose, just double check your fingers are nice and splayed apart. Index fingers reaching up toward the top of the mat. Wrist is right below your shoulders. Navel's tucked to your spine to elevate your hips. And the heels are pushing to the back of the mat. And we're going to come down to the mat, either knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga, keeping your elbows tucked to your side. Come down nice and slowly. And then we're going to send our hands to the front of the mat, bringing our fingertips toward the front and our elbows landing right below our shoulders, coming into Sphinx pose. And then when we're in Sphinx pose, we're gonna progress to half frog. So you can choose at any point what part of half frog you'd like to do. So we're going to start with just bringing our right heel rather, toward our right hip, and then sending that back down again. We'll do that a couple times. Send your right heel toward your right hip, and send that back down. And we're going to push, as I noticed, I'm sinking my chest, but try to keep your elbows active so that you're pushing down into your actives and you're not slumping down into it, bringing your shoulders toward your ears. So, and you're pushing down into your elbows, creating that space between your shoulder and your ear, lifting our right foot so that our right heel comes down toward our hip and then back down again. And this time we're going to bring, and this is going into the half frog, so you can just choose to do what we just did, or if you like, you can bring your left hand, resting it on your inner right elbow, lift your right foot, bringing the right heel toward your right hip, and then reach around with your right hand, grabbing your toes, sending your right elbow up toward the sky, and just grabbing your toes for half frog. And then send your foot back down. I'm going to bring both hands underneath our shoulders for cobra. So we'll start with baby cobra. Just lift our chest off the mat, chin and chest off the mat, lifting our hands off the mat as well. And then come back down. And then we're going to, with our elbows tucked to the side, we're going to gently push down into our hands and come up to the full cobra. Your pelvis bones or hip bones are still on the mat. Elbows are tucked toward your side. And then we'll come back down to the mat. And this time we're going to do up dog. So we're going to push down, fully extending our arms, and the weight of our feet will be on the tops of our feet. So push down, fully extend the arms, and we're on the tops of our feet. And then we're going to flip our feet over so that we're on our toes, and then come into downward dog. We'll pedal out here for a moment. Just kind of get yourself aligned in your downward dog. So fingers are spread apart, index pointing to the top. Arms are nice and straight. Chest is reaching toward your thighs. Sending your hips up. And your knees are bent, either in a pedaling motion. We'll take a few deep breaths here. Inhale and exhale for 1. Inhale and exhale for 2. Inhale and exhale for 3. And then we're going to bring our right knee up and land it right behind our right wrist onto the mat. We're coming into pigeon pose. So with your right knee right behind your right wrist, we're going to send our right foot out to the left side, and it could be either straight under your right leg or any angle from that straight line all the way over to 90 degrees. I'm lucky if I get into 45. And then we're going to slide our left foot back, coming down on our left knee. And if you'd like to support your right hip, you can take a block or a blanket and place it underneath your right hip. And we're going to walk our hands back so our chest expands, become that proud puffy pigeon. You'll see that a lot in the spring. when they're courting each other. And then walk your hands down, coming into reclined pigeon. And then we'll bring our hands back up. Tuck our left toe under so it's on the mat, and then lift our hips back up to downward dog and pedal out here for a moment again. And then we're going to bring our knees down to the mat and send our hips down to our heels. Again, you can either have your tops of your feet flat on the mat, or you can have your toes curled under, whichever is comfortable for you. We're going to do a modified camel pose. So in this sort of hero's pose, we're going to take our fingertips and find the tips of our toes in back of us, and have your fingertips touching your toes, and then bring your whole hand down to the mat. So you can stay here, or if you want a little bit more stretch, you can try to reach your torso up toward the sky. Sending your gaze up, and please don't send your head back. And then bring your hands back up. We'll come back to tabletop, back to, or tuck our toes under and come up to downward dog again. And then just slowly walk our feet up to our hands, coming into forward fold. And just let gravity take over for a moment here. And then slowly rolling up, sweeping our hands up overhead. Palms come together and palms come to heart center. So that's great. We'll do that all on the other side, and we'll have a little bit more of a different version of camel's pose on the other side. So inhale, sweeping our hands up overhead, bringing our hands down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Inhale, bring your hands up to your shins, flat back for half forward fold. And then bring both hands down to the mat and send both feet down to the bottom of the mat, coming into plank pose. And keeping our elbows tucked together, we're going to come down to the mat, either knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga. And then bring our elbows underneath our shoulders for Sphinx pose. And we'll go into half frog from here with our left leg. So you bring your left heel toward your left hip. And then bring that back down. We'll do that a couple more times. So inhale, lifting your left heel, sending it toward your left hip. And again, keep your elbows active so that you're not sinking down into your chest. And then bring your left foot back. And then we're going to bring our left heel toward our left hip. And if you'd like to do the half frog, we're going to pivot our right hand and elbow. So our right hand lands on the inner part of our left elbow. So our forearms parallel to the top of the mat. And then we're going to take our left hand, reach back, grab our left toes, send our left elbow up to the sky for half frog. And then release and bring that all back down. Then both hands underneath your shoulders. And we'll do baby cobra here. So lift your chest, your chin, your chest, and your hands up. And then bring all that back down, chin is on the mat. And then with your hands, you'll lift your chin and chest, and then gently push in your hands coming up into full cobra. And then back down. And this time we're going to go into up dog. So firmly plant the tops of your feet into the mat. Hands are below your shoulders. And we're going to extend our arms fully, coming up, pushing up into up dog. And then flipping our toes over so that we're on the balls of our feet. We're going to come into downward dog. So raise your hips up toward the sky, and we'll pedal out here for a few moments. Arms are nice and straight and strong. Chest is reaching toward your thigh, which sends your hips up toward the sky. Knees are bent with a pedaling motion if you like. We'll take some deep breaths. So inhale and exhale for one. Inhale and exhale for two. Inhale and exhale for three. And then we're going to come into pigeon. So you bring your left knee to the mat right behind your left wrist, keeping your right leg where it is. And your left leg can either be straight underneath your left leg or 45 degrees perhaps, or even 90 if you're so flexible. And then we're going to come down, bring our right knee down to the mat, top of our right foot down to the mat, sliding that right foot down toward the end of the mat. And we'll walk our hands back, come into that puffy pigeon pose, arching our back slightly, and then walking our hands down to the mat and coming into reclined pigeon. And you can have a little bit of a support on your underneath your left hip, if you like. Maybe kind of inch your foot up toward the angle of 90 degrees. And then lift up, walk our hands back. We're going to tuck our right toes under and come back to downward dog. Pedal out here for a moment. And then bring our knees down to the mat, and we'll come into camel's pose. So this one, you're welcome to do the other one where your hips are on your heels and fingertips to toe tips, or the regular style of camel is you're upright on your knees, and maybe if you want to put a blanket under your knees, if you need additional cushion. You tuck your toes under here, and with your knees about hip width apart, you're going to place your hands on the back of your hips, roll your shoulders, and then just arch your back like we do when we're doing a supported back bend. So this is one version of camel. Or you can swing your arm all the way up and in back of you to find your right heel, and then swing your left arm all the way up and then back of you to find your left heel. And we'll just keep this arch here. Don't drop your head back. And then come back up. We'll come back to tabletop. Well done, everyone. And then we're going to send our knees out to the sides, out to the edges of the mat, bringing your big toes together. And we'll lower our hips for a wide-legged child's pose, sending our hands out front. And then walk our hands back up so that they're underneath our shoulders. Then we're going to do a thread the needle. So we sweep our right hand all the way up to shoulder height, maybe higher, and then swing it back over to the left and through our, between our knee and our wrist, left knee and left wrist, bringing our right shoulder down to the mat. And then we'll send our left hand up to the sky, or you can have it on the back of your hip, or if you like, you can just have your left hand resting on the mat. Either one. And then bring your left hand down, if it's not already, to the mat, and then push yourself back up. And we'll do that on the other side. So sweeping your left hand up to about shoulder height, maybe a little higher, and then sweep it under your torso over to the right, coming through between your knee, right knee and right arm, and then bringing your left shoulder down to the mat. And you can keep your right hand on the mat, or send it to the back of your hip, or send it up to the sky, opening up your chest. And bring your right hand back down to the mat, pushing into your right hand, come back up. We come into a staff pose, so you can bring your legs to the side and come into a seated position. In staff pose, you get nice and comfortable in your sit bones. You can make little fists and push down into the mat on both sides, lifting your hips up and then lowering them down, and really feel that connection of your hip bones to your seat. With staff, your legs are nice and active, your toes are pointing up to the sky. We're going to take and your back is nice and straight and tall. We're going to take our right foot and place it on the outside of our left knee. So it's on the outer side of your left knee. And we're going to wrap our left arm around our right knee and send our right fingers to the back for a nice sage twist. You like a little bit more of a twist here, you can bring your left elbow on the outside of your right knee and kind of use that as leverage to twist a little bit further to the right. Maybe send your gaze over your right shoulder. And then turn back, come back to staff pose. And we'll do that on the other side. So bringing your left foot to the outside of your right knee, placing it on the mat. We're going to wrap our right arm around our left knee, sending our left fingertips behind our hips. And if you like, you can bring your right elbow to the outside of your left knee and use that as leverage to twist a little further to the left to look over your left shoulder. And then come back to center. And we're going to roll down, and you can use whichever method you like. one vertebrae at a time, or express method, which is what I'm going to use. And knees to chest, bringing your hands around your knees and giving your knees a nice hug. We'll rock back and forth here, give our lower back a nice massage again. And then we're going to put our hands on our knees, extending our arms fully forward, pushing our knees toward the other end of the mat. And then what I call rowboats, we're going to open up our knees to each side, bringing the soles of our feet together. And then guiding our knees back to our shoulders. And then guiding our knees back together over our chest. Give them a nice hug again. So we'll do that again. Extend your arms fully out. Sending your knees to each side, bringing the soles of your feet together. Guiding your knees back toward your shoulders. And then bring your knees back together over your chest and give them a nice hug. Do one last time, extending your knees fully out. Sending them to the sides, soles of your feet coming together. Bringing your knees toward your shoulders. And then closing your knees over your chest and giving them a nice hug. Then our last pose before Shavasana, we're going to send our feet up to the sky and send our hands to the outer edge of our feet, and then guide our feet toward our shoulders for happy baby. And just be aware of your lower back. Try to make that lower back come down toward the mat, extending your tail down toward the mat. And you can rock here if you like, or just be content, be a happy baby. And then you can release your feet, sending them down to the end of your mat and prepare for Shavasana. Send your heels out to the side so that they're on the corners of your mat, and just let your feet relax. Take some nice deep inhales and deep exhales. And as you exhale, just release further into the mat. And do that at each joint, starting with your ankles. Inhale and then exhale, relaxing your knees. Inhale and then exhale, consciously relaxing your hips. Maybe just kind of wiggle around, really feel that relaxation, release. Inhale, exhale, relaxing your arms out to the side, palms are up. And then inhale and exhale, relaxing your shoulders. Maybe try that shoulder exhalation several times before you really feel that your shoulders don't hold any more tension. And then gently place a smile upon your lips and a twinkle in your eye. For this morning's poem, I have a poem by Robert Frost titled A Prayer in Spring. Oh, give us pleasure in the flowers today, and give us not to think so far away as the uncertain harvest. Keep us here all simply in the springing of the year. Oh, give us pleasure in the orchard white, like nothing else by day, like ghosts by night. And make us happy in the happy bees, the swarm dilating round the perfect trees. And make us happy in the darting bird that suddenly above the bees is heard, the meteor that thrusts in with needled bill, and off a blossom in midair stands still. For this is love, and nothing else is love, the which it is reserved for God above, to sanctify to what far ends he will, but which it only needs that we fulfill.